Either you give us Greenland, or I will collapse your economy. These words do not belong to a terrorist leader or a dictator. They were spoken by Donald Trump, the self-proclaimed guardian of global democracy, directed at America's own ally, Denmark. Yesterday, Trump placed a political grenade on the table of diplomacy and pulled the pin. Just days earlier, Venezuela's President Maduro was taken from his bedroom and later displayed in New York as a show of power. Trump then threatened Maduro's successor, Rodriguez, warning that he too could be taken, but at a higher cost. Around the same time, Trump spoke openly about Colombia, Mexico, Cuba, and Iran, declaring himself the ultimate authority. Now, Greenland has become the next target. But this time the situation is different because the opposing side is not an enemy, but NATO itself, America's own allies. It is easy to dismiss this as exaggeration, but that would be a mistake. This issue did not begin yesterday, and to understand it, we need to look back. On the map, Greenland appears to be nothing more than a vast frozen landmass, home to roughly 50,000 people scattered across an endless ice desert. It is an autonomous territory tied to Denmark with its own parliament and government, while foreign policy and defense remain under Danish control. But the real issue is not ice. It is geography. Greenland is one of the most critical geopolitical thresholds in the world because it serves as a gateway to the Arctic. Over the last decade, as climate change has caused Arctic ice to retreat, new sea routes have emerged, routes that could connect Asia and Europe thousands of kilometers shorter than the Suez Canal. This has dramatically increased the region's strategic value. Beyond shipping lanes, Greenland is rich in rare earth elements essential for modern technology, from electric vehicles and missile systems to radar technologies and semiconductors. Today, much of this supply is controlled by China, a dependency the United States considers unacceptable. Greenland represents a potential way to break that dependency. The military dimension is even more critical. The United States operates the Thule Air Base in Greenland, one of the key centers of ballistic missile early warning systems. It is among the first locations capable of detecting a nuclear strike coming from Russia or across the Arctic. In this sense, Greenland is already part of America's nuclear defense architecture. While the United States is physically present there, Trump considers this insufficient. He seeks full political control and states openly that Greenland is filled with Russian and Chinese activity and must therefore be secured for American national interests. Importantly, Trump did not raise this issue for the first time today. In 2019, he publicly stated that the United States wanted to buy Greenland. At the time, global media treated the idea as a joke, cartoons were published, and Denmark's prime minister dismissed it as absurd. The general assumption was that Trump had once again made an unusual statement that would go nowhere. What was overlooked, however, was that for the first time, a U.S. president was speaking about an ally's territory using the language of ownership. Buying was already controversial, but it implied negotiation. Today, that idea has evolved into a direct threat. Trump did not change his objective. He changed his method. More importantly, Trump has demonstrated that he acts on his words. He spoke of bombing Iran and followed through. He said Maduro would be taken and made it happen. He announced that support for Ukraine would be cut, and it was. This rhetoric is no longer symbolic. It reflects a governing mindset, increasingly visible in official communication, where power is emphasized over diplomacy. Denmark's position in all of this is limited. Trump has largely bypassed Copenhagen and instead engaged directly with Greenland's local administration, effectively sidelining Denmark. Danish officials have responded with restrained diplomacy, stating that the United States has no such right. But realistically, there are few options available when facing a superpower. The core reality is this. For the United States, allied territory is no longer a guarantee when strategic interests are at stake. Denmark's NATO membership does not make Greenland untouchable. At this point, the issue stops being about Greenland and becomes a question about NATO itself. If the threat does not come from an external enemy but from the United States, what can NATO do? The short answer is nothing. NATO was designed to counter outside threats, first the Soviet Union, later Russia, but it was never built to address pressure from within. The alliance was created to accept American leadership, not to limit it. Its command structure, nuclear umbrella, and decision-making mechanisms are all centered on the United States. In theory, NATO can protect allies, but it cannot protect them from Washington itself. Trump's Greenland threat exposes this structural blind spot. This is not a military attack and therefore does not trigger NATO's Article 5. It is economic pressure aimed directly at civilian prosperity, an area where NATO has no defense mechanism. Article 5 states that an attack on one member is an attack on all, but it was written with tanks and missiles in mind, not markets, sanctions, and economic coercion. If the pressure comes from the United States, there is no clear response built into the system. While it is tempting to view Europe purely as a victim, that interpretation is incomplete. After the Cold War, European countries consciously chose to outsource security to the United States, reducing military spending while expanding social welfare systems. Prosperity was gained in exchange for dependence. Today, the United States carries roughly 2/3 of NATO's military burden. For years, this imbalance was tolerated because the system functioned. That balance shifted dramatically when support for Ukraine was reduced, sending a clear message that security comes with political conditions. Greenland entered the picture within this logic. NATO still exists in a technical sense, but trust has eroded. The real danger is not the sudden collapse of NATO, but its slow hollowing out, remaining in place yet failing in moments of crisis. History shows that major collapses often happen this way. That is why Greenland is symbolic. This is not about an island. It is about the meaning of alliance. The United States is no longer persuading its allies but enforcing alignment. And at present, there appears to be no force capable of stopping this shift. If one day an American flag is raised over Greenland, it should not come as a surprise. We will watch what happens next.